Hello viewers, welcome to Fruits of the Womb, your family-oriented TV health program on issues related to maternal and child health. My name is Dr. Vera Bayu and I'm your host. Today on Fruits of the Womb, we discuss getting my child to eat right. What's a balanced diet? How do I make a balanced diet a healthy diet for my child? What are the effects of poor diets on children? To answer these questions and many more, you want to stay tuned to Fruits of the Womb. We'll go on a quick break and we'll be right back. So welcome back. This is Fruits of the Womb, brought to you by kind courtesy of Casson's Baby and Camel Baby Antiseptic. Let's stay interactive. Join us on our Facebook page. Go to Facebook, type Fruits of the Womb and post your questions, comments or contributions. Getting my child to eat right. A lot of mothers out there have difficulties getting their kids to eat a balanced diet. To help me discuss this very important topic, on my extreme right, Mrs. Sophia Ametefe. She's a dietitian with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And on my immediate right is Dr. Mrs. Esi Gezi-Tete. She is an author of the book Heart-Wrenching Marriages from Surviving to Thriving. You want to get a copy of that book. It's available at all Challenge bookshops. Also available on Amazon. And she's also a child development specialist at the Efiam Kwanta Government Hospital. You're welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Now, we all know that nutrition is very key for child development. And there's a common saying that you are what you eat.
Yes.
What's a balanced diet and what's the importance? Why should anybody eat a balanced diet?
Okay. So a balanced diet is simply a diet that consists of various food groups in their right proportions. So we have the carbohydrates, that's the first group, which should comprise 50 to 60% of your main meal that you are eating. So in our carbohydrates, the fruits come in, the vegetables come in, the cereals also come in. So we could have corn or rice as examples. Then we have our protein that should comprise 10 to 15%. And the proteins, we have two groups. So we have the plant proteins, for instance, the groundnuts, the soya beans and the likes. And then we also have the animal proteins. So that's where the meat, fish and milk come in. And
so
then,
when you take your plate, about half of it is for your carbohydrates.
Yes, 50 to 60%.
Then about a quarter
for your protein. And then 20 to 30% is the fats and oils. Okay. And remember that some of the fats are also giving you some amount of protein. For instance, from groundnuts, you can get oil. Okay. So it's giving you two groups or two contributing to different parts, even in the balanced diet. And that is very key. If you don't get the balance right, then your child is not going to grow accordingly to what he or she should be
expected to. So, Dr. Gezi-Tete, what are the various stages of feeding? We know that right from birth, they don't go straight to eating the corn and the beans and all that. So what are the various stages of infants feeding or child feeding?
Thank you. We know that babies are not born with all their organs, that's why their guts very mature. And so right from the beginning, from birth to 6 months, we recommend that babies actually be fed only on breast milk. It's an optimal nutrition for every baby. And rightly so.
And is breast milk a balanced diet?
Yeah. Breast milk is highly balanced because it actually has been made very appropriate for the baby. Don't forget that the milk production begins as soon as the baby is born. So it's in a ready state with all the requirements that the baby needs.
Briefly, fast food.
Yes. Briefly, we can say that it has in the right proportions what the baby needs. And in addition to having the right proportions of proteins, the right proportion of fats, it also has the right proportion of water. Because the human body consists of about 70% of water. And so breast milk actually has 88% water, which is what the baby needs adequately. In addition to all the immunologic constituents of breast milk has, she talked about vitamins and minerals, and what they do is a protective function. Now, breast milk has that already. It has bifidus factors, which is needed to prepare the gut in subsequent times to come. It has lactoferrin that helps with preventing the gut bacteria from feeding on iron that the baby gets.
And that prevents diarrhea.
It prevents all the diarrhea that we see. And so if mothers do not opt for breastfeeding and they opt for other things, they are doing the babies a disservice. And so we know that by 17 weeks, the intestines actually start maturing. And by 26 weeks, they're matured. And by 26 weeks, you're talking about 6 months. And that is when we say that you can now start adding other things to the breast milk, because at that point in time, the breast milk is not adequate for the baby. So at that point, it doesn't become a balanced diet anymore. The interesting bit of it is that when babies are not started with other foods at 6 months, they now tend to have something we call infant growth faltering, because at that point in time, something must happen. There must be a transition, and then the food must now be changed into a different kind of balanced diet to continue with the growth. So then we'll talk briefly about complementary feeding, is what we call it, because we're adding other things. We expect that mothers should breastfeed up to 2 years. So it doesn't mean that you stop breastfeeding totally.
Once you start introducing your complementary
Exactly.
feed.
And here, many mothers get it wrong. In fact, it is at this 6 months transition that we have a lot of problems with malnutrition. We get a lot of problems with diarrhea. We have so many problems with weight loss and stunting because mothers don't get it right. So I believe that this offers a platform to actually talk about it into details.
So let's say during the weaning period, what are some of the examples that mothers can give to the babies to provide a balanced diet after doing the exclusive breastfeeding?
Okay, so more often than not, we would start first of all with the porridges, because the child has been on a diet that has been so much liquid. So now it's another form of liquid, just that it's a bit thicker. So any cereal of your choice, whether you want to use corn, rice, wheat, whichever, and then would add the protein, because like we said, a balanced diet, everything should be there. So you could choose to use soya beans or groundnuts. But the thing is that you have to pay particular attention when you start this, because some children may have allergies or reactions. So you need to pay attention to them. From then we move to the pureed food, or semi-solid food, so potom, which we all know, even adults tend to take it a lot, yes. We give that to the child, and then you gradually introduce more solid form, so that as the child's teeth begins to develop, the child can do a bit more of chewing. Yes.
But let's say, for instance, I decide to give my child potom. How do I make this a balanced diet?
Okay. So you could choose to use yam.
For the benefit of those who don't know what potom is. So that's what's like yam porridge.
Yam porridge, yes.
Or
cocoa yam. Some people also use cocoa yam.
Or potato,
so most people would, yes, or even potato. Yeah. So they would prepare a stock as though we are preparing light soup. Okay. Then they would cut whatever tuber. So if you choose to use your yam or your potato or the cocoa yam into it. So it's cooking with it till it becomes soft. Then you would add your fish powder to it, and then you would also
so that will give you your protein.
Your protein, and then palm oil is added. So it's a complete nutrition.
Let's take a look at the views some mothers have about infant feeding.
Me ma omunufuo no bebre sin aduane no. Nti se me twa omunufuo ne de a na afa me de aduane no epompam se de ebe ye ombedidi.
Omo se owo akola na obey course ama ne 6 months. O ma ne nsuo, o ma na aduane no fo nko an. Ba me ye ma me ba no 6 months no, me ye ma ne wie no ondidi. Me force ne sa, me force na me de ma no be fi aba.
A lot of people have that perception that when you do exclusive breastfeeding, it's more difficult to wean your child. Is this true or it's a myth?
Well, I'd like to address this issue. And I'd like us to know that during the period of pregnancy, whatever mothers eat, the fetus also gets it. Now, when the baby is born and is breastfed, the baby also gets everything the mother eats. The interesting thing is that the fluid around the baby during pregnancy and the breast milk, they were both studied, and they found out that their flavor and their taste was actually similar to what the mothers were eating,
Oh, really?
which implies that they are actually a kind of bridge. They serve as a bridge between their nutrition at that time and then what they'll be introduced to
Later
during
on.
the period of complementary feeding. And so if mothers are picky during pregnancy and it's not by their choice, sometimes it's just by the situation, they will not eat this, they will not eat that. What happens is that the children don't learn those foods as well. So when you start complementary feeding and now you want to introduce them to those foods, it becomes difficult because they haven't learned those foods.
They've not been exposed to it at
Exactly.
all.
And that is what many people don't know, that they learn the flavors and the taste right from the womb.
Oh, interesting.
And during breastfeeding.
Because you hear women say that when I was pregnant, I couldn't take fried plantain, and my child won't take fried plantain either. And you wonder whether there's any link.
There is a link. My mother also tells a story where she took a lot of muscatella, chills during pregnancy, and my brother has a sweet tooth.
I see.
He has a sweet tooth. So this makes it really true.
Okay, but Sophia, so let's say you have a child who you're having challenges feeding. How can you make feeding time more attractive? How can you get that child to eat healthy? Because what happens for most people is that in trying to get their children to eat when they're having challenges during the complementary feeding time period, they want to introduce something sweet with the hope that at least the child will take something in. And then unfortunately what happens is that the child gets addicted to that thing. And then now getting the child off that thing, which is unhealthy because it's not balanced, becomes a problem. What can mothers do, or parents, caregivers in general do?
Okay, so eating should generally be a fun time. You see, it shouldn't be all seriousness and you are sitting down and you have this straight face, no laughing with your child. You know, children are very attracted to colors. So you could have colorful bowls or even bowls with cartoon images or animations on them. And even the way we present the food. You are an adult. If the rice is put on the plate anyway, you would eat it. How about molding the food? We've had situations where, you know, the cookie cutters, we use them even on the food. So, for instance, rice, mold it even in the shape of a teddy bear. Put the stew in a decorative form, maybe eye, nose. I mean, children are attracted to colors. So let's have the patience. You see, if you are taking, when you were young, I don't think you learned your ABCs overnight. Don't expect the same for the child. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of fun, a lot of activities during food just to get the child to eat. But once the child starts, you wouldn't have a problem.
But how do you reverse the bad habits?
Okay, so let's say this bad habit has been formed already. Now you would have to gradually unwind the bad habit. So maybe you were giving the child sodas or these juices that are unhealthy. So the child probably tastes, and our children are very smart. It's coming in a bottle. A mother said the child wanted the drink in the bottle. So all she had to do was go and blend the fruits naturally and put them in the bottle. The child took it.
Okay.
And a lot of these problems that mothers face during that period is actually behavioral. For instance, when you start the child on complementary feeds, it is advised that you offer the food 2 or 3 times a day, up to 8 months. So you're not just giving the baby other stuff apart from breast milk anyhow, at least 2 to 3 times in a day to 8 months. From there, you can try it 3 to 4 times a day to 11 months. And then when they are 1, you can add a nutritious snack. And so if mothers are not counseled on feeding, it becomes an issue. The truth is that taste is learned. Nobody is born with taste. And babies have a preference actually for sweet and salty things. And they will reject bitter and sour things. So that issue is an issue. Because as soon as we detect that they like the sweet things,
then
we overload them. But the truth is that you must try a baby with the new food 10 to 15 times before you can conclude that
the baby will not take it. So
the patience and the fun and all kinds of varieties,
the child to eat,
you know,
dance sometimes
because you need the child to eat healthy. And so viewers, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to look at effects of poor nutrition. You don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, viewers. This is Fruits of the Womb, brought to you by kind courtesy of Casson's Baby and Camel Baby Antiseptic. Join us on our Facebook page. Go to Facebook, type Fruits of the Womb, and post your questions, comments, or contributions. We're discussing getting my child to eat right. Sophia, effects of poor nutrition.
So poor nutrition could be in two arms: undernutrition and then overnutrition. So in overnutrition, what is happening is that the child is eating more than the normal requirements. Most children would end up with either becoming overweight or obese. You have a risk factor for heart diseases.
Because I was just going to ask you, is that a problem? Because most mothers will be thrilled if their children are overeating.
Yes, most mothers will be happy that their children are overeating. But you see, we need to guide the children. Most times the weight gain, the excess weight gain, is coming because they are going in for the junks, the unhealthy foods. If the child is eating healthy meals, eating the required quantities at a time, such a child will not become overweight or obese. So once the child is obese or overweight, then the child has a risk factor for insulin resistance. So such a child is prone to diabetes. The other arm of it is that obesity is also a risk factor for children developing high blood pressure or other cardiovascular diseases. And we are seeing this of late.
A lot of cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the past, you would see this among adults, but we have very young children being brought because their cholesterol levels are high or their blood pressures are high. And all these things we need to manage. And also obesity is, once they are taking in a lot of the junk foods, then they tend to develop these dental caries and the likes. So obesity, it's not a good thing at all. And we need to streamline and guide our children even in their eating.
Do you think obesity is a problem because these days a lot of mothers are busy and the fast food, the 5-minute meals are what? Because you're in a hurry to go to work, you have places to go to, and these are foods that are readily accessible and the kids love it. Do you think that's a contributing factor?
Mothers contribute in many ways, even in pregnancy. In pregnancy, what a mother eats is very important. The mother is eating junk foods and high sugar, high fat foods. What happens is that the mother creates an environment, a nutritional environment where the baby also learns. Yes, there's a kind of memory preserved of the fetal experience when it comes to nutrition. So if the mother is eating a lot of fatty foods, the baby adapts. There's an adaptation. The organs, our organs are all not the same. They adapt to it. And so, for instance, a mother who is eating a lot or eating junk foods or gaining weight excessively in pregnancy, what's happening is that the pancreas of the baby produces a lot of cells, islet cells, and then secretes more insulin. So the baby actually, by the time it's born, is coming out with a permanently enhanced appetite. And it's happening because of the maternal nutrition. And it's the same way when there's maternal undernutrition, that's in a mother is not eating well during pregnancy, the baby's organs also adapt. The vascular system adapts. The pancreas is not well formed. And so what happens is that at birth, there'll not be enough insulin circulating in the blood. And so there'll be a lot of glucose circulating. And then it leads to fat cells picking up the glucose and producing fat cells. So all these, in fact, poor nutrition during pregnancy poses a risk for the development of non-communicable diseases, like she mentioned, hypertension, diabetes, later in life. So you have to get your nutrition right
from pregnancy.
Right from pregnancy. Now, another contributing factor to obesity, which I need to mention actually, is infant formula feeding during the first 6 months when you should be breastfeeding, because the infant milk has high levels of protein. The normal requirement is 1.2 grams per 100 mils, but in infant formula they can go as high as 1.8. And so the high protein content actually stimulates insulin and insulin growth factors, and that also results in increased adipocyte activity, and there's excessive weight gain. So you're happy your baby is gaining weight, but there's actually something going on.
And when you go, community health nurses actually praise you when your baby is gaining a lot of weight.
But the other thing, apart from the unhealthy diet, is our current sedentary lifestyle. Look at the children. What do you see them after school? Everyone is either
on their phones.
Parents' phone, playing games
or
watching
TV.
TVs. Yeah. So they are not active. They are not burning any form of fat. And these children are just going to gain weight very rapidly. So we also need to look at that. In the past, a lot of children would be found doing outdoor games. There was physical education, PE, even in schools. But these days, a lot of schools are using such small lands that there's no space available for the kids to run around.
So, Dr. Gazy, quickly, briefly, undernutrition. What are the effects of, what is undernutrition and what are the effects of undernutrition? Very briefly.
So, undernutrition basically is when the child is not being fed a balanced diet. And so what happens is that, for instance, in situations where the child is not getting enough food to eat at all, you can have marasmus. There's deficient energy, no calories. And then in places where there's a lot of carbohydrate, there's cassava, there's plantain, but they don't have protein to go with it, they suffer kwashiorkor. Now what happens actually in the average person's life is what we call stunting. I said the average person because you can have a little carbohydrate, a little protein. You're neither here nor there, but you're in the middle. And you have what we call stunting. Now, with stunting, we predict stunting using the height and then the age of the child. And stunting is quite common in low-income countries. They said that 2 out of every 5 children are stunted.
That's very serious.
Yes. And it's irreversible after 2 years, which means that our tendency to grow tall there's a mismatch.
So it's possible that a lot of us could have been taller.
well, it's an issue. It's an issue. So basically, this is what undernutrition is about. Then there could also be micronutrient deficiency, where the vitamins and the minerals are not adequate. There's a lack of iron, so most kids are really pale. In fact, 80% of children have anemia under 5.
Low blood levels.
Yes, and iodine deficiency resulting in mental impairment. There could be even zinc deficiency. So folate deficiency, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, all the vitamins actually. So it's important that kids are given adequate amounts of all these nutrients.
So viewers, like you know, every week we have the question of the week, and if you answer correctly, you might win a prize from our sponsors. So for this week, the question is:
overnutrition is a form of malnutrition. A, true. B, false.
Send your answer to the number on the screen. Let's check out last week's winner. Congratulations. As usual, the time runs out when you're having an interesting discussion. So briefly, your final words. Final words. Sophia.
Okay. So nutrition plays a very essential role in the lives of everyone, both children and adults. Today we are focusing on children. So let's ensure that we give our children a balanced diet at all times.
Dr. Gazy.
I'd like to talk about the whole feeding experience. It's not just about giving the child food. Some people are so busy that they think that I provided the food. And the issue is, even what food is it? We are overindulging our children. They're eating pizzas, they're eating fast food, they're eating bacon, sausages. And these are actually foods that are referred to as empty calorie foods, because rather they get a lot of sugar, a lot of fats which they don't need, they're unnecessary. I'd like to say that the whole feeding experience is important in the sense that mothers or parents, caregivers, we all have to understand that it's a fun time and we have to be there for the children. There's a story about Harlow, a researcher, some time ago, where there was a debate. What does the child need more? Is it food or comfort? So Harlow actually made 2 mothers. One was a mother made of wool, soft material, and the other was a mother with a feeding bottle. So they allowed the monkeys to go in there to see what they'll prefer. And actually, they prefer to stay with the warm mother, and they only go to feed on the iron mother with the breast milk, with the bottle feed, and then go to the mother. Then when they try to scare them, they always went back to the soft mother. This is attesting to the fact that they don't just need food. The whole feeding experience is important. They need us to be around, they need us to be patient with them, and they need us to make it fun so that they can eat.
So it should be a lively and a wonderful and interesting experience, and not just providing food. So remember that a balanced diet comprises of 50 to 60% carbohydrates, including vegetables and fruits, 15% protein, and 20 to 30% fats. Poor nutrition can be in the form of overnutrition or undernutrition. Ensure your child is always getting a balanced diet at every meal. My name is Dr. Vera Bayo. I hope to see you same time next week. Remember, God loves you. Stay blessed.